Can you imagine what it would be like if we lit 6 million candles out here? We'd need to light a candle, one every minute, for every hour, for every day, for every week, for every month, for every year, for 12 years. But it's not for us to light 6 million candles. For us tonight, we will light just 7 candles, each representing brilliant lights that were snuffed out before their time, each a potential to create an entire universe.
We invite Zachary and Sam Run as the survivor.
Survivors. Out of the ashes of death and destruction came the survivors, whose eyes have seen the horrors, whose ears have heard the screams. They tried to silence them, but their voices are still heard. They tried to destroy them, but they would not die. They tried to kill all the Jews, but Judaism still survives. They tried to burn the Torahs, but the words still endure. They are the survivors who live to tell the tales. They are the remnants who must bear witness to the world. They are the survivors that go to a funeral and cry, not for the dead, but for the ones that were never buried. They are the survivors that are very quiet, but are screaming inside. They are the survivors that go to a party and feel lonesome in a crowd. They are the survivors that make large weddings, invite a great many people, but the ones they want most will never arrive. They are our links with the past. We are their hope for the future. We light this candle for the survivors.
For all those children whose names we don't even know, for all those children whose graves we know not where, for all those children still drinking at their mother's breast, for all those children who had not yet learned to read and write, for all those children who wore a tattooed number, not a name, for all those children with names just like our own, for all those children who had not yet learned to talk, for all those children who did not live long enough to stay cottage for their parents, for all those children whose light went out before it had a chance to glow, we light this candle in memory of the 1.5 million innocent children murdered for being born Jewish. May we never again have to light candles upon the death of innocent children anywhere in the world.
Racheli to do our reading, and we invite Max to be escorted up as the survivor.
For parents, Bubbies and Zadies, we remember them as we remember our own parents and grandparents. Through pains of agony and tears, they watched their sons and daughters crumble before their eyes. We remember them, the shopkeepers, the artists, musicians, scholars, for the loss of the rich Jewish life they lived, but was denied them, the celebrations of weddings, childbirths, bar mitzvahs, Shabbats, and holidays. They must remain in our hearts, share room in our souls, breathe with our lungs, sing with our voices, and dance with our legs. We light this candle as we remember them, because the world would like us to forget how their cries for help fell upon deaf ears.
The next candle is for the resistors, and we invite Danny and Max.
There was both physical resistance in all the ghettos and camps, partisans in the forest, as well as spiritual resistance. Holding schools, libraries, celebrating Shabbat, holidays, and life cycle events.
At my bar mitzvah and his. When I was 13, I became a bar mitzvah.
When he was 13, he became a bar mitzvah.
When I was 13, my teachers taught me to put tefillin on my arm.
When he was 13, his teachers taught him to throw a hand grenade with his arm.
When I was 13, I studied the pathways of the Bible and roadways of the Talmud.
When he was 13, he studied the canals of Warsaw and the sewers of the ghetto.
At my bar mitzvah, I took an oath to live as a Jew.
At his bar mitzvah, he took an oath to die as a Jew.
At my bar mitzvah, I blessed God.
At his bar mitzvah, he questioned God.
At my bar mitzvah, I lifted my voice and sang.
At his bar mitzvah, he lifted his fists and fought.
At my bar mitzvah, I wore a new talit over a new suit.
At his bar mitzvah, he wore a rifle and bullets over a suit of rags.
At my bar mitzvah, I started my road to life.
At his bar mitzvah, he began his road to martyrdom.
At my bar mitzvah, they praised my voice, my song, my melody.
At his bar mitzvah, they praised his strength, his courage, his fearlessness.
When I was 13, I became a bar mitzvah and lived.
When he was 13, he became a bar mitzvah and lives now within each of us. We light this candle for all those who fought back in any way possible.
To light a candle for the righteous Gentiles we call Alan, and Mary and Joe as our survivors.
There were nations and Christians of courage and principle who did whatever they could. They were found in every country and came from every walk of life. There were teachers, doctors, lawyers, clerics, laborers, housewives, politicians, even soldiers who hid, fed, smuggled Jews, or merely manifested their sympathy by small kindnesses. If the Shoah has taught us anything, it is that one person can make a difference. Rescue of Jews by non-Jews was the exception rather than the rule. Tens of thousands of lives were saved through the courage of those who not only refused to be a part of the tyranny, but who risked theirs and their families' lives. Many acted out of a sense of altruism, an unselfish desire to help those who were being persecuted. Some based upon deeply held religious beliefs or moral codes. Others helped because they were neighbors or friends or were paid, hiding behind walls, under floorboards, in haystacks, in convents. These heroes and heroines give us a legacy of hope in mankind and the belief that good can triumph over evil. The deeds of many compassionate Christians who helped Jews are commemorated in the Garden of Righteous Gentiles, part of Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. The answer to, am I my brother's keeper, should always be yes. We light this candle for the righteous among the nations, some of whom are Oskar Schindler, Raoul Wallenberg, Irina Sendler.
I see an old man sitting with tears in his eyes. So I sit down and ask him, "What makes you cry?" "I'm 83 years old and my wife is gone. She died years ago. It's been so long. She died while running from a fate worse than death. She was Jewish, my friend, and was punished for that." With this, he stood up and said his goodbyes. He said, "You have to fight hate. Fight it or die." I look to my left, and to my surprise, I see a woman with tears in her eyes. "What's wrong, ma'am? What makes you cry?" "I'm 32, and as I look back, I've been hated just because I'm black." "I'm sorry, ma'am. How can this be? How can someone hate you based on only what they see?" With this, she stood up and hugged me goodbye. "You must fight hate. Fight it or die." I stand up ready to leave, but I'm stopped by a guy who begs me to sit, with the tears in his eyes. "What's wrong, man? What makes you cry?" "I'm 21 and hate who I am. I'm gay and they just don't understand. They look at me and laugh with faces of disgust. You learn to hate yourself when there's no one to trust." With this, he stood up and whispered goodbye. "Please, fight the hate. Fight it or die." My hands in my face and tears in my eyes. "What's wrong?" asked the waitress. "What makes you cry?" "I'm 17 and the pain is so great. Look at this world so full of hate." I know, honey, but there's really not much one person can do." You're wrong, I said. There's so much to say. Those who you think are different should not be pushed away. We must learn to accept others. This we shouldn't deny. We must fight this hate. We must fight it or die. And with this I stood up, my eyes were ignited. So much hate in the world, but I'm ready to fight it. We light this candle for the 5 million others murdered. Gypsies, homosexuals, Poles, and dissidents.
Before we light our 7th candle, we invite Rabbi Brody, and then the 7th candle.
Please rise for the Kaddish. This is a special Kaddish of remembrance. Yiskadal,
Auschwitz,
V'yiskadash,
Lodz,
Shemei Rabo,
Ponar,
V'yalma divrach Yerusei,
Babi Yar,
V'yamlich Malchusei,
Majdanek,
V'chayechon v'yomechon,
Birkenau,
V'chayei d'chol Beis Yisrael,
Kovno,
V'yagala u'vizman kariv,
Yana Auska,
V'imru Amen, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Leomei Omayo, Yisbarach V'yishtabach,
Theresienstadt,
V'yispa'ar V'yisramam,
Buchenwald,
V'yisnasei V'yishadar,
Treblinka,
V'yisalev V'yisalal,
Vilna,
Shemei Dekudesha,
Bergen-Belsen,
Berichu Le'ela,
Mauthausen,
Min Kol Bechasa V'shirasa,
Dachau,
Tushbechasa V'nechemasa,
Minsk,
Damiran Bialma,
Warsaw,
V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen.
We end this ceremony with our last candle, the candle of hope. A prayer that all of us who will participate in the March of the Living tomorrow will live to see peace in our day and tolerance for all mankind. The past cannot be erased. What was destroyed cannot be rebuilt. Those who were murdered cannot be brought back. Let us pray that all peoples, Jews and non-Jews, will be able to learn the lessons of the Shoah and work together to make this world one of love for all mankind. Please join us as we light the 7th candle, the candle of hope, and sing Hatikvah.
Thank you to Rose and the Blue Bus and Sammy and the musicians for providing this beautiful ceremony for us. I want to tell you guys that you are in a place of 700 years of Jewish life. This is Casimir's. The temple right behind you is a neocon temple called the Temple. It's a neolog, and it means it's like a kind of like Reform and conservative Judaism, a modern Judaism that started in the 1800s. We're surrounded by 15 and 20 synagogues in this area. And the JCC was built here because this was a completely Jewish section. And the life that bustled here, hustle and bustle and the beauty of it, all types of Jews, from Zionists to socialists to Hasidim to modern Orthodox in those days. up to 1939 would sing that same Hatikva that you sang, always yearning for Zion. And on Erev Yom HaShoah, when we honor our survivors and we honor the victims who were murdered, all of you, each one of you individually and as a group, have composed yourselves and shown yourselves as incredible young people, along with your staff who has come to love you very much. And I want to thank you for this very difficult day that we had, with joy and with deep sorrow, and the way you comported yourself. Thank you.